Welcome. I am Quino. I'm Danny.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Adam.
And this is Quino and Danny Insight with Adam and Jacob. And for today's episode number 2, we're going to be doing a continuation of what we did yesterday on the subject of confidence. So this is confidence part 2, and we're going to be diving in with our insights, Danny and Quino, and hopefully getting some input also from Jacob and Adam, wherever applicable, wherever they feel comfortable jumping in. And that way you guys can get an introduction to some of the people we hang out with on the reg. Danny, why don't you start us off kind of on the topic you wanted to get into yesterday before we got abruptly cut off?
Okay, well, yes, last night we were talking about love, unconditional love. That was a specific aspect of love that we were focusing on. And one of the aspects that I wanted to bring up last night is applying that same aspect of love, unconditional love, towards the things you do, especially the things that you're most passionate about in your life. So, for example, if you're a musician, okay, you have to love the art, the instrument, unconditionally. And what does that mean? Like, I play trumpet, for example. It's one of my instruments. And it's a love-hate relationship, you know. And every musician identifies with me. I have no doubt about that, okay? But you have days that you just feel like you're on top of the world and everything's responding perfectly. My lips feel great, they're vibrating, and I get the perfect tone. And then there's days where it just seems like nothing's working. Your lips aren't, you're just like, yeah, and you sound like shit. So am I going to stop loving the instrument and playing it because that day I sound like shit, or maybe that week, or whatever? No, you have to love it unconditionally. If that is part of your passion, accept it with the highs and the lows. If your passion is your business, so understand businesses have highs and lows. If whatever the thing that you're doing, apply that same unconditional love to how you approach it, and understand in life, yin yang, there's ups, there's downs. You have to appreciate you have to accept the downs in order to appreciate the ups, okay? And you can't get so high on your horse during the ups, because guess what? There's downs coming. And that's usually they call getting knocked off your high horse, you know? It's a part of life. We all know those sayings. But, so apply it to everything you do, not just the people in your life, not just your family, not just your romantic loved one, you know, but apply it to how you approach the things you most love in your life. Apply it to your body. You know, if you're going to work out, well, do it from a perspective of unconditional love. You know, I'm not going to, I want to get healthy, and I'm going to do things physically that are going to make me healthier, but at the same time, I need to be wise and not hurt my body in the process because I'm trying to prove a point out of ego. You know, like, I'm gonna pick up the big old weight and impress this girl, and then fuck up my shoulder in the process. Who cares? You know, I'm doing it because I want to be healthy, not because someone else is going to look at me this way or that. You know, so approach your body from a perspective of unconditional love. You know, that's kind of where I was at last night in my thoughts. What do y'all think?
I have to agree, and I'm glad you brought up the point of making sure that you're wise in what you apply the unconditional love to, because you don't want to apply unconditional love to all aspects of your life. You know, especially if you have, like, say, a heroin addiction. Yeah, that's not something you want unconditional love towards. You know, but no, it's if you apply it towards one thing, you know, eventually it's going to bleed over to all aspects of your life. And so, you know, that's once you start living in that way of thinking and that way of feeling, it's important to that's a good time to see what's kind of working in your life and what isn't. You know, what things are benefiting you in a positive, progressive way, and what's kind of holding you back, whether it be exercise, diet, or even people in your life.
I would add, though, concerning the heroin.
Let's backtrack a little bit.
Well, just because unconditional love still applies
talk about
there.
high horse, you know.
Because no. Because what caused that person to become a heroin addict, and that person needs to look back and unconditionally, through unconditional love, re-examine the emotional experiences, the downs in their life that led them to thinking heroin addiction is the only way. So they have to readdress how they feel inside, which is causing them to seek heroin as an answer to something they're missing in their life. And sometimes with people like that, what they need is others to show them unconditional love despite their heroin addiction, despite what they're going through. If that person experiences unconditional love, that unconditional love can completely heal that addiction. And maybe if we all have addictive personalities, shift that addiction to things that are productive. And I've seen people do it. I've seen plenty of people that have been addicts to. I have this one friend who used to be a meth addict, and now his goal is to be in the Olympics, and he's found a passion for archery. He's shifted all. He'd never done archery in his life, and all of a sudden he shifted all his passion and his addictive personality to that, and he's a badass.
He's just shooting arrows instead of shooting drugs.
Exactly. It's a different type of needle.
That's a nice way to make life.
But when you're able to channel that addictive energy, we have this taboo towards addiction as a bad, evil. No, see it as drive, see it as good ambition, see it as deep, passionate desire, and channel it to something that is going to benefit primarily others, but also who you are. It's going to make you a better person. But it has to be addressed through unconditional love, accepting the person who led that life and understanding that's in the past, and being able to accept yourself for who you are today. You're no longer an addict, you're no longer that, and unconditionally love yourself no matter what.
So that should be the main addiction, because I feel addiction as a word is getting a lot of negative connotations nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's, you can have good addictions.
Exactly.
Unconditional love would be one of the better ones.
Addicted to love.
I think that's a
Maybe
song.
not addicted to self. Not addicted to self-love.
No. And I'll use that as a jumping in point. If there's one thing that addicts are good at, is challenging parameters.
Yes.
Having had struggle with addictions myself, I don't have a hard time challenging parameters. The issue the addict then faces is you push so far that thing you're pushing on starts biting back. And that's when you see an addiction in full, tour de force, and obviously pain for you and pain for everybody else. Yeah, a downward spiral. The thing about an addict, though, is that if you can take that insatiable hunger, that curiosity for life that leads you to a needle, or leads you to an emptying a glass, or leads you to whatever, burning, smoking, injecting, taking pills, whatever it is, or it could be another kind like sex addiction, or an addiction to recognition or attention. I mean, there's all kinds of addictions that are very real and incapacitating if you look to take over. But anytime you look at the cause of that, I agree with Danny. There's a lack of self-love that creates a void that we then seek to fill with something that does give us pleasure. It provides a short-term feedback loop where I do an action, I put out energy, I get a response immediately. That response feels good. That's a really nice closed-circuit feedback loop that I can repeat every single day. And it feels so nice that it's blinding that really I'm getting taken for an idiot by my own habits.
Like training a puppy.
Yeah, and then I've read so many studies by highly regarded psychologists, usually in papers that maybe didn't get to publication because of these exact comments, where although they explain the human being is very complex in technology, construction, we're pretty simple often in our habits and our routines and our behavior. So human nature can be studied and observed. And when you look at it, it's actually really easy to train humans just like you would a dog. And a lot of psychologists say this, and it's because if we are not awakened above our monkey mind, above just reacting and not thinking through and applying, wisdom, mixing knowledge and understanding to the situations life passes before us, we're bound to make stupid mistakes. And everyone does it. If you allow yourself to get caught up in emotion, you react, and you do something you later regret. But the issue is, to train yourself out of it, you actually do have to use basically dog training techniques on yourself. You've got to create incentive-based situations that train you to go in the direction of what you know is good for you. And you also have to be ready to discipline yourself when you don't do it. And by discipline, I don't mean you're going to go and whip yourself. No. Discipline means you're going to stop, and from then, therefore, apply the discipline necessary, the congruency. So it's like, okay, if you're not going to be able to do this on your own, you have to put it in a ritual of this habit to get this right. Even if it's something like meditation. Because if you say, I know about meditation, I know the benefits of meditation, but you're not meditating every day, then it almost seems crazy. It almost seems crazy because...
Well, something like, have you ever heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who meditated with Chainsaw transcendental
Transcendent and
meditation.
Transcendental meditation.
There you go. Yeah.
one of those words.
It's that T word, meditation, for I believe a year, and then, or no, actually, excuse me, a decade. And then he said, but after that time, he felt like he had kind of already reached a plateau of what he had to learn from that like lifestyle.
Yeah.
But he says he still felt those effects from meditating for that time of period for the next
It changed
4
his life.
decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it remained.
And I'm sure that he got into that type of state when he was working out. He was getting that
Yeah.
thought. You know?
Well, a lot of times physical activity, I know a lot of people who, for example, jog, and that is their meditation. When they're jogging, their mind is just clear. That's where they're able to, in a very easy, organized way, process their day, process their thoughts, you know. But going back to, we were talking about the analogy of the dog, training a dog, you know, we're like that, conditioning. You know, if that's true, which I know it is, then who's been training us? And how have we been receiving our training?
Right.
So that brings into what you watch on the daily, for example, TV, media, news. It's all programming. It's all trying to stir your thoughts, your actions, your choices in a direction. You know, that's why when you watch Food Channel, what? You get hungry. Duh. You know, and so many things that we watch also make you feel less. You know, like the way they portray women on TV today, the models, and thankfully you do see it changing a lot today. But for a while, you know, the only image of what a beautiful woman is has to fit this certain stereotype. The same holds true for men. But we're programmed to think that's what beauty is, when beauty truly lies so much deeper. Okay, so that's something that as I've grown in my journey, I've disconnected more and more and more and more from television and just random nonsense that's spewed out on TV and news and all those medias, because I see it for what it is. You know, I see that there's two sides to everything, and both sides are always skewed, and both sides may be totally wrong as well. There's a whole different aspect of how to look at things, and it's usually breaking your paradigms before you see it. But so careful who's programming you. Be aware. Program yourself. You program you. Why? Because if you program yourself, then you know what programming you're putting into it. You choose what to watch. You choose what to take in. Don't just do it blindly and let society program you on what to believe and how to feel, and your prejudices in life and your limitations, and let them determine what you can and cannot do in life. So
That's a good jumping off point for one of the points I want to get into. When
dive
you're
deep.
referring to confidence, it's going to be based off information that's sitting somewhere in your subconscious mind. It's going to also be based on narratives that you have running and that you're aware of in your conscious mind. But there's going to be all these little rules that you're either conforming with or not conforming with, that you're either meeting the mark or you're not meeting the mark in, that are sitting in your subconscious mind that are giving you a sense of confidence. When you go and feel and try to figure out more deeply what is actually informing this confidence, you might find out that it's really not resting on anything logical, but rather around emotion tied to impactful moments associated with these things that we're looking for confidence from. What I mean by that is, if you are looking to feel confidence in your athletic ability, what the most powerful emotional event around it has been something that you classify as failure because you didn't win the game and you felt let down, or you felt like you let everyone down. But if that's the most powerful emotion that you have tied to this subject, then your confidence in that thing is probably tied to this very narrow judgment of yourself. And so you might have to revisit that moment and clarify it now as an adult, a little bit more aware. Hey, it wasn't that bad, and it's not that big of a deal. Everyone has an off day. I mean, read Michael Jordan. You know, missing so many shots, losing so many games, and yet a champion. Someone who was still overcoming. And it was his humility that got him right back there every morning, just performing, just doing it, because it was like a game he played, right? And it was a game, but he kept it like a game. He didn't let it become just this task. He kept it anew. He knew who it was. And so I want to make everyone aware of certain cognitive biases that you have formed in your mind that you're not aware of, that I have formed in my mind that I was not aware of. These cognitive biases are affecting how I am rating my confidence relative to everything around me. And so I'm taking information from my externalities, and my mind is processing it in the subconscious without even letting me know, hey, I'm using this to judge it out and this to weigh it out. So the first one, everyone, for the most part, is inbred with inferiority complex. Very, very subliminal, oftentimes kept under a lot of wraps, oftentimes compensated for. You create narratives to justify moving in its opposite, or you create narratives about how it's made you a victim. Whatever these things are, though, whatever's causing this inferiority complex, it's something that's a part of the human condition. It's very natural. You're not alone. I was not alone. But I felt very alone in feeling inferior at everything I was doing, in feeling like I was an imposter at everything that I went and approached. So as soon as I realized this is something that's innate and natural, and that has to be thought upon, then it's going to give me a leg up to realize other cognitive biases. The second one, you have a tendency to overestimate the abilities of others and underestimate your own abilities. And that's a huge thing that it helped Homo sapiens evolve and survive because they overprepared. They were constantly underestimating themselves and overestimating the outside environment. By underestimating yourself, you on the day of action, you show up and you perform. And by overestimating the environment, you show up and you're more than ready to face that enemy. So that's why we survive with these sort of inbred wirings in our brain. It's going to be natural that as you build your confidence in this more complex social world, it's going to be confusing because your innate go-to response is going to be to underestimate yourself and overestimate everyone else. Just know, most of the lives you're seeing on Instagram are fabricated. Most of what you see on social media is being crafted to just show you the pretty parts. And that's just happening even without thinking about it. Give everyone a break. That we just want our lives to be put out in the best way possible.
Everyone wants to show their good side.
Exactly. You want to show your good side.
That's why I wanted to sit over here, because this is actually my good side. So,
You didn't want to
this
overshadow
whole
us.
thing's ruined.
The third cognitive bias,
Beautiful, Adam.
which it plays into this, well, I have an idea of this is my good side, based on what? Because somebody probably told you. Who? Probably your parents. We have an overweight that we give to the information that we receive from our authority figures. If you respect someone like your parents, your teacher, your boss, it's a mentor or an older sibling, when you give them that respect that's due because of love and time spent together and them pouring into your life, they have a much higher weight with the words they say to you than other people, even if you're not aware of it. And so you base a lot of your own values, your own confidence off of their words. So you have to be very careful that at times, even in love, they put something in that doesn't belong there. Disabling thought, a disabling paradigm, a disabling idea. Sorry. And
most of the times they obviously don't realize they're
no,
doing
they don't
it.
realize they're doing it in love. And the fourth one is you underestimate the influence overall that your peers, that our peers, that your social environment, that my social environment has on us. We all overestimate it. Even if you're really good at saying, oh, that's peer pressure, you're still going to succumb in one way or another. And you're going to underestimate constantly how that influence affects your subconscious mind. Maybe you didn't act on it consciously, but it starts reprogramming how you think. That immediate environment around you has to be tended to. You have to make sure that you're keeping positive people around you. Otherwise, you will ultimately swim in like a tub of acid. It's going to feel that way if you're only surrounded by toxic people. So you have to know that you have these cognitive biases because we all do. And as long as we're aware of them, we can take the steps to avoid making those mistakes. It strengthens overall our confidence, is what I'm saying.
All right.
What are your thoughts, Jacob?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Elegant in its brevity.
What I think is neat about how old Jacob is right now, being in an older
He
teenager,
looks amazing for 40.
on the brink of basically starting off adulthood, is that he's a sponge. If you're getting out of high school or you're in college right now, you're in the best time of your life. You're also very flexible because you have probably less responsibility. You have probably less input and concreteness about who you think you are or what you think you believe. So right now you're moldable. And so life right now is going to be teaching you tons and tons of lessons. And I see it teaching Jacob lessons all the time. It's so awesome, though, that he's also someone to act quickly on the lessons. He takes these lessons seriously at a young age. And it's important to seek to better yourself at a young age because the more of a foot start you have at developing yourself emotionally and having control over your emotional environment, of developing yourself in interpersonal relationships, be able to develop not only the relationship you have with yourself, but with those closest to you, and then ultimately in becoming a social lover, someone that goes out and adds love to the world, so that you build a network where you're constantly helping people, and they know that, they feel it. It allows you to get more reach. It allows you to get farther into people's lives and help in greater measure constantly. But the earlier you start doing all that and developing these things for yourself, you have a foot up. If you started at 10, you're decades ahead of most people. If you started at 20, you're still decades ahead of most people. Even at 30, a lot of people begin their time of contribution and like full service to mankind after their midlife crisis. And this has been really more a trend prior to the explosion of the internet and all this new information. But now people are getting more and more aware of the need that the world has for what we get to offer in our lifetime. And so young people are wanting to get involved at a younger age because they're seeing it in the internet. They're seeing it through their phones, through their laptops at a very early age. And it's not just the information we get on TV anymore. The internet has made it so there's just so much information coming. It's uniting us all. It's making us a world of very, very common goals, very common human needs. We're being made more and more aware of the commonness of mankind. How we are obviously all from one thread.
Well, that's something that also brings a personal sense of confidence when you realize that you're not the only one with confidence issues. Everyone in humanity has their own level of confidence issues. So when you realize it's not just you, it's okay. Everyone has their issues. Some may have overcome them a little sooner, so they appear very, very confident, but maybe they weren't always that way, So realizing that even the most outwardly perfect-looking people, sometimes they're the ones that have the most self-confidence issues, and that's why they overcompensate through what they have. It comes down to things and what I can acquire and what defines me through external sources, like we were kind of discussing yesterday, where because you have, sometimes it's just not admitted that you have that issue, but when you define yourself, and how do you know you're defining yourself is when almost every conversation it's about, well, what do I have? Like if you're with your friends, you're like, oh, check out what I just got. Or look what I got, or I'm gonna get this, or someone says they got something, you're like, oh, well, I got this one, And we've all been through there. I know I went through that stage. We all went through that stage. But coming to a point where it doesn't matter. It's material things. It's gonna stay. We're gonna go. It's not gonna last. So why attach yourself and identify yourself through those things rather than identifying yourself by who you are, who you say about yourself.
And that's why it was like I remember as a kid back when way back in the day when Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards were that was all the rage, and like what you just said kind of reminded me of that.
Pokemon's still the rage right now.
Look at what I have. I have the Dragonite, and I have the whatever. It's like, and they just care so much about these little pieces of paper with a fucking little.
Back in my day, it was garbage pail.
And then baseball cards, guys.
Oh, that's a term.
Baseball cards too. I mean, that was a little. That wasn't as.
Yeah, you're right. It's always about what I have versus what you have, and that establishes your rank amongst your small pack of friends.
Yeah, exactly. And now, had that been a discussion of ideas and thoughts, I mean, I'm sure this would be the world today would probably be much, well, maybe not much different, but different nonetheless.
Bad thoughts, not good thoughts.
Yeah, and that's when we were talking about the whole internet thing, it is a great collective of interesting thoughts. Certainly,
everything's out there.
Yeah, and you can have a lot of good common ideas, but you can also have some bad ideas, and that's and it just takes a good
take the good, discard the bad.
I'm sorry.
Take the good, discard the bad.
Yeah, but some people might not realize that what they're they might not think a thought is bad at the time until it's too late, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Well, that ties into something that has been left to history or left to mysticism or sayings and quotes like trust your gut, for example. How many cultures make reference to trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust that.
Or that whole lead, follow, get out of the way kind of thing.
And then follow your heart. Since it's anatomical things that we identify what we are with our brain, and not understanding that we're far more than our physiology. Trusting your gut is talking about every single human being's innate ability to have intuition, to perceive things on a different plane that our visual five senses can perceive. And a lot of times when you find yourself in a position in your life where you feel totally lost, totally disconnected, totally without purpose and depressed and unloved and whatever, and your self-esteem is down in the gutter, okay, a lot of times it's because you've heard that intuition voice speak up, whether it was your gut or your heart, one of the two, but because of the stories in your head and the programming and the conditioning and what you were told you can and can't do, you told that voice, shut up. No, I don't have time to talk to you. No, you don't know what's right for me. No, that's nonsense. Okay? So understand that those are, it's throughout history so prevalently because it's something that is so true. We each have that. We each have a heart, okay? And we know what a heavy heart feels like. And a heavy heart feels like when you're doing shit in life that you know you're not supposed to do. You know. No one has to tell it to you. Your heart gets heavy from it, But when you experience the opposite in your life, you just all of a sudden feel like you just lifted up. Your energy is greater. You feel like a big old weight was taken off your shoulder. We always talk about the weights on your shoulder. In reality, it's your heart was just lightened up. It's like your heart's floating up now because it's so light. You let go of all that baggage of shit in your life. So listen to those voices. It's coming from you. It's coming from inside you. It's not going to lead you astray. It's not going to guide you the wrong way. Okay? And the more you learn to listen to that voice, trust that voice, know that voice, okay? And know that voice in line with your creator as well, and know that, oh dang, they're saying the same thing. You begin to get confirmation on what I'm feeling is right. Okay? And that is going to bring confidence. Period.
And don't just, whenever you're trying to find that voice, don't just scrunch your face and
sometimes that voice is just complete silence.
Exactly.
And you're so frustrated waiting for a big old voice to pop out. And no, there's in the silence many times that's where you find God, being able to turn off all your thoughts.
Because that's what a lot of people are expecting. They're expecting just instant answers, instant gratification. Instant gratification. It takes time. It take a week, take months, maybe even a couple of years for you to really find, get in tune with your own frequency.
Yeah.
Really just listen to yourself, and however you go about it, that's really up to you. Some people need to sit in a completely darkened room, no noises whatsoever.
No distractions.
No distractions. Other people, they can just hop on a motorcycle, just drive down a road for
and
a couple
you know
miles.
What your method is to get to that spot.
Yeah, and only you can know what your own method will be. You can't really be told. You can.
I have a friend that
but it's really
all
up to
his
you.
moments in life of just moments of satori moments of inspired thought that in reality have changed his life. They all happen in the shower. The shower, that's his
shower thoughts.
Yes. He's in a shower, and that's where his mind just turns off.
Mowing the lawn.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I have a business plan, and changes everything about his life to follow that business plan. And today is on the verge of that business exploding, all because he had a thought in a moment of just taking a shower.
Yeah. And just going on a weird tangent here. What you just reminded me of. There's a couple kids up in British Columbia or somewhere in Canada, to where they literally were canning fresh air.
Oh,
they were
really?
canning fresh air, and they were selling. I think they were selling it to the Chinese or something like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and it actually took off as a legitimate business. And the only thing I could think of is, wow, that's just like Spaceballs.
Yeah, I was thinking that Spaceballs, man.
Like,
Perrier, man. Perrier.
And it's like, wow. If it was that easy to start a business, then any one of us could have just, I can just can fresh air, So I'm sure, it's like a couple, those of us who are siblings, just a couple fart and just waft it into someone's face, The same thing, only it's much fresher than it's canned. And it's canned for for your convenience.
Okay.
But let's get
back to confidence. No, you should have confidence in knowing that if you can make money by canning air for the Chinese, you can make money however. Absolutely. That actually reminds me, I'll just spill it out now. That reminds me of a quote I like to say from Snoop Dogg. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Morpheus,
Doggy
don't
dog.
try to hit me. Hit me.
Yeah.
Stop trying, just do it.
So going back to something Danny was saying earlier, that you have this unique path that you are on because it's your gut that is guiding you. It's your instinct. It's the spirit inside of you. Whatever you want to say, it is something inside of you, not outside of you, that's giving you the green light by making the stomach feel right when you are walking in the right direction, and also making you feel upset when you know that you're not walking in the right direction. You do not want to live by anyone else's standard. You have a perfectly unique life set before you. It's all your own. No one else is going to get to walk it. You're the only part that's going to get to walk that specific life. So because it's unique to you, enjoy it. It's just for you. Explore it however you have to, following your gut, following your instinct, following what you know for yourself to be right. The way that I have been experimenting, in order to question everything, to really undo the things where I was just inherited, you have to constantly ask why. In order to figure out whether or not you're succumbing to these cognitive biases, like the ones I was describing earlier, you have to constantly ask why. Ask why 3 times. If you're just doing something because you've always done it, ask, why do I do this? Why is this important? Why? 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 And annoy yourself with the whys.
Another thing would be to stop saying, I know.
I know,
Because-
right?
I know. You know,
I know. I'm so guilty of it. I know.
sometimes you miss out on so much amazing information, especially from people in your lives when they try to open up to you, they try to express to you something they're experiencing or whatever, and you cut them off because you're like, oh, I already know. Well, I already know what it is. I have my, no, you have your own experiences, okay, because you are also a completely unique being. You have your own experiences, you have your own perspective, you have your own understanding of what that experience meant to you, and you have your own personal emotion attached to it. It's totally unique. So stop saying, I know, shut up, listen to the other person, and that may be different. But also it comes to your learning, and this is an aspect I want to bring up about confidence. You want to increase your confidence, learn, grow, seek knowledge. When acquiring knowledge is more entertaining to you than binge watching a TV show that has no significant value other than comforting your posterior on the sofa, acquire knowledge, grow, okay? There's confidence in knowing things, especially things that pertain to your life. And what's worked for me is trusting my gut, trusting my heart. When I have a question, what's really been happening, and we laugh about it all the time, is when in my own time of meditation, my own time of thought and pondering, I connect dots in my life. I connect dots in scriptures or dots in my past, like, reliving memories with my dad, for example, and I connect these dots. It brings me the sense of confidence knowing that next time I encounter that situation, I know what to do. Because I took the time to seek out the knowledge. And don't limit yourself by what you're told. Okay? If someone tells you this is how it is, all right, I'm going to go investigate it for myself because that may be your truth. But is it truth? Sometimes people can convey something so passionately that they may believe it to be true, and it may be their truth, but seek it out first. And you may come to find out through your seeking that, yeah, they were right, and now you agree with that truth, but now you know it to be true because you also believe it because you sought it out, you used your brain, you used your heart, you used your gut, you analyzed it, and you came to the same conclusion that they did. You might not come to the same conclusion they did. In my case, I went back and re-examined everything I believed, and just putting it out on trial, per se. And if you're guilty, you're guilty. If you're innocent, you're innocent type thing to my belief structure. And the beautiful thing is that I came out pretty innocent with different understanding, but the foundation of what I believe is solid as a rock. It's just society has misinterpreted it, so much of it, and put it into practice in such ways that are not in line with what is written. So when I go back and acquire the knowledge and understanding, and I seek guidance, and I meditate on it like the word says, with that comes unbelievable confidence, because you're not, but you have to start off by asking the questions and letting go what you think you know.
This reminds me of a quote by the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something. And what he's saying, though, what he's saying has been said over time. If you're speaking, you don't stand to learn, because you're only repeating what you already know, what's already gone in. So right here, I'm not going to be learning in the moments when I speak, like I'm going to be learning when I'm listening. But listening isn't just hearing. Listening takes active energy. It takes opening up and focusing as an observer on what is being communicated to you, because you're preparing yourself to learn. You're opening up that chalkboard for someone else to write on it.
I'm going to do a quick
And you have to humble
demonstration, okay, to prove a point. But keep on talking.
One good way of doing this is
Oh my God, I'm so full of shit. No, keep talking.
practice conversation and focus on
Focus.
connecting.
That's not what I believe.
Exactly.
Okay, would you have a conversation with someone and interrupt them every few seconds without them getting their thought across? Obviously, no, that's so disrespectful, but we do it in our minds. They're speaking, okay?
It's not
And
better,
in my mind, I'm thinking those thoughts like, oh no. And because I won't shut up in my mind, I'm not listening to what he has to say. And the same thing stands true if I did it verbally. If I'm constantly interrupting them the way I just did, y'all on camera not knowing my example is probably thinking, what a dick. You let him speak already, But it goes to the point we're making is, if you want to listen to people, shut up. Both in your mind, okay, and verbally. Okay, he's quoting the Dalai Lama. I'll quote King Solomon. The wise man is slow to speak and quick to listen. It's saying the exact identical thing. Listen.
My boy. And to repeat what he was interrupting me earlier, because it actually is.
I apologize
No,
for
no.
that, by the way.
Just blank. Practice conversation and focus on connecting. So what is conversation? Conversation is not a monologue. I know how easily it is to be guilty of monologue, of thinking that a conversation is a one-way street. But one-way streets are difficult for more than one person to navigate it if the two people are trying to face each other. Agree? So if you want to face someone and have a dialogue, you're going to make this conversation about connection, about reaching out and finding commonality to get on the same safe common ground where there's no friction, there's just understanding, and there's the openness enough for you to be real, to get raw with someone. That's what someone's looking for every time they talk to you. They just might not even be aware.
Just think
We
about,
settle for a lot less than that, but that's what we want. That's what we need.
Think about your relationships in your life, okay, the troubled ones. And just imagine if you were to reapproach, maybe the next time you see that person, reapproach everything, putting this into practice. Next time you speak to them, shut up and listen. Let them speak. Practice the law of non-resistance, which is, I'm resisting the temptation to butt in and make a statement. I'm resisting the temptation to create my own story of what I think they're trying to say, and before they could finish what they're trying to say, I already created my whole story visually in my own brain. No, shut up. So just imagine, and do this as an experiment. Do this week. We're going to do another vlog next week, and we'll hopefully hear some feedback from you guys. But try it. Do it with your loved ones in particular. And I dare you, see how things change. See how things begin to change.
I think for a lot of young men and women, we assume that our confidence is built on these external things, like the way we look, what our social status is, some of the things we do, maybe how much money we make. The truth is, though, and we come to realize it, that it's not based on those things. It is based on the inner self. And the inner self is the pilot. And the pilot is the best suited one to run good experiments, to get good habits formed, to get wise information coming in, to act with judgment and not just react. It's the pilot that's good at that. But if you go and sit on the pilot by putting all kinds of crazy ideas, belief structures, or other authorities that are not you, your inner truest self, that are not the things that you are being shown by the universe, by God, through your own life, by your own experience, if you're going to put these hampers on how high you can get, you are going to feel a ton of gravity.
You create your own
Every
glass
step,
ceiling.
you're creating your own glass ceiling. And so your confidence ceiling will be somewhere inside of that. But unless you're a super achiever within your own bubble, unless you already have convinced yourself within your own world that you're doing fantastic, you're going to be even smaller. That's silly.
Yeah,
Break-
think you're such a big man.
Exactly. You don't want to think that you're a big fish in this tiny little
Turns
pond.
out you're small.
Because yeah, you're going to go out to the
Full snow
ocean.
globe.
Yeah, you go out to the ocean and bah, your globe breaks and you are now in the world with sharks. Now Solomon knew that even as king, he had to go and be proud of every day of work that he spent on this earth. Every day that he went and did something that he felt good about, by the end of the day, was a good day. If you don't have a vocation, a work, something that you're putting passion into, that you can get consistently better in and get constantly more passionate about, you're going to have a hard time drawing confidence every day. You're just going to go in these long roller coasters. What you want is that you have developed enough in every one of the things that comes up in your day. You've become a better son, a better daughter, a better sister, a better brother. You've become better at the relationships that are important to you and at the tasks that you have to do, but that you also get, reward from. Maybe it's you love to make coffee, or you love to pour a glass of wine for your friends, and you just want to get really good
Or
at it.
cook for them.
Or cook for them. That's a big thing for me. I love cooking. Get badass at it.
Oh, yeah.
Just dedicate yourself to everything that's awesome about your life and make it more awesome. Awesomer.
Well, it's cooking. I've always, not always, many years ago, I started developing the fascination with cooking and saying, I'm pretty darn good. But I didn't develop a love for cooking until I started cooking for others on the regular. When you and I are like on a budget, we're like, okay, we're not gonna spend more than $15 on dinner for tonight. We go to the grocery store, we buy this, and that, cook, and then 2, 3, 4 friends show up, and guess what? We got more than enough, right? You know, Adam. But it made me fall in love with cooking because getting to see people unplanned and say, hey, here you go.
Yeah.
Have a plate of Cuban food because I cooked.
And that ties in with the unconditional love aspect as well. And I've felt similar feelings. Just really getting back into cooking and, not so much for the culinary aspect. Yeah, not to toot my own horn, but I made bacon wrapped jalapeno sausages. For these two.
Bad ass.
Not the healthiest
Oh,
choice.
Oh, stop!
Eating close, but
Sausage
I'm blushing. But no, it's you really. And I personally, I'm kind of in tune with an unconditional love aspect. For better or for worse. But it really just feels good to be able to prepare. There's nothing nicer than preparing a meal for other people. Offering up your bounty. Prepared in all its glory. Presenting it. It's like, here you go. Please have this. It's one of the best feelings in the world. And I mean, it's not the same as giving like a Christmas gift. Like, hey, here's watch you fucking. Just a pair of socks. But no, it's something special. That's just one aspect that I wanted to jump in about. Just cooking for someone else. Whether you love to cook or not, it's one of the best feelings in the world. It really
One
is.
second. Jumping off of that. Whether or not you love to cook, why don't you experiment with it?
I was just going to say, another dynamic about cooking that I noticed that changed for me was the more often I cooked, the healthier choices I made. When I realized I'm the one deciding the ingredients, I'm the one choosing what's going in or not going into this, and knowing that I could put healthy stuff and make this taste so damn good, and be like, it changes your perspective to where now when you think of the crap that's out there, it's not as appetizing anymore because you feel afterwards. Yeah, it's not good. But when you cook something delicious, healthy, you feel amazing.
Going back to confidence, if you do not cook and you start cooking and you get good feedback, it'll definitely be a confidence booster. But the reason that you're getting confidence added is because in cooking and getting better at it, you're exercising a very healthy system. of taking in new information, immediately applying it, immediately adding it to your repertoire of things that you already know that you can rely on. And then you're going and experimenting, testing it, and getting feedback from people you respect, and you're getting a closed feedback loop that's telling you you're better, you've gotten better. That makes you feel good. It releases all kinds of excellent hormones for progress, the kind of hormones that will make you feel better, but will also incentivize you to keep doing it. And 4 little points that I wrote before we started recording that I think are just an outline of ways that you start applying these things that are going to give you confidence. But you're by just going out and experimenting. So the first thing is look for little wins in everything.
Celebrate.
Little improvements. And what Danny's going to get next episode into this topic of spikes. I'm going to next episode we definitely have to go into it. But basically, you're looking for little wins, and the spike, the one win that makes you feel especially good, that's your big little win, that should let you know that's a progress point. I can now take on something else. Number 2, go out, all out on experimentation, on everything. Everything that's important, experiment. Figure out how to make it better. Figure out how to take a better shower, like maybe adding a cold shower or taking a full cold shower once a week. Experiment with walking, with running, with things that you know are good.
Experiment with non-fluoride toothpaste.
Experiment with
Experiment
non-fluoride
with
toothpaste.
Experiment with
water.
no toothpaste. You never know.
Number 3, though, challenge yourself when it starts to hurt. Don't even start counting the reps until it starts to hurt. Don't even start counting it as an experiment until it starts hurting. Now you're
I haven't
really
heard it put that way,
experimenting.
but I like it.
Okay. Number 4, review your results. Establish some kind of metric. Write down and record everything. Start
And achievable
journaling.
goals. Don't be unrealistic with them to
No.
where celebration is 2 years away.
No, it
Yeah.
has to be
Oh, that's the
short-term,
importance of baby steps.
Yeah.
Set out goals that are
3 week, every 3
Yeah.
month, 3 weeks,
daily, weekly, monthly,
and achievable goals.
and to keep them achievable, you want to keep them within 3 months. That's what you really want to be focusing on for feedback loops. That's the most maxed out there. Start trying to figure out how you can reward yourself after 2 weeks of good behavior. And by reward yourself, you can just write down, literally, and then go back and see in your own handwriting and figure out just how rewarding this is. You did a goal, and then you get to say, and I accomplished this goal on this date.
That's
All
enough
in your own
reward right
handwriting.
there.
Trust me, when you start writing down your goals and looking at them, or writing down quotes and seeing
I'll
them
see
in your own handwriting, it's powerful. It's moving. It really is something different.
It's creating a time capsule.
Yeah, that reminds me of what I still think is a brilliant exercise when I was in the 8th grade. Is my English teacher, Mr. Moore.
Shout out.
Yeah, right. No, he had an assignment for us one day. It's like, look, you're going to write a letter to yourself 1 year from now, because the school I was going to, it only went up to the 8th grade. So after this year, we'd be going off to high school. And so he said, write a letter to yourself at the end of the 9th grade. You know, just set small goals for yourself, and see at the end of the year. And what he was going to do is we would submit it to him at the end of class, and he was going to mail it to us at the end of the year. When I got my letter, I'd completely forgotten that I even wrote it. And so it's like, when did I mail myself a letter? Is when did I become Marty McFly? You know, writing myself a letter from the past. Yeah, no, but it was interesting. You know, did I meet every single one of my goals? No, I didn't. But did I? You know, the ones that I did, I still felt a sense of, I was proud. You know, I wanted to, meet new people. It's hard for me to make friends and communicate a little bit. You know, it can be at sometimes. So I had established myself in a group of very, very good friends. I was making good grades. All the things that I had appointed myself that I wanted to do. Most of those I had done. Of course, that ties into you can't always accomplish every single little thing, and that's all right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that you should, if anything, you should get excited because this is something I get to work on. This is something I'm going to be more badass at, in a very short amount of time. So,
Quick note, something I was thinking that an idea I had while we were speaking. Understanding balance. You said something in there that triggered this. Because we've been
trigger warning. Watch out.
Trigger. We've been focusing on confidence. And yes, we need to. But make sure to always keep it in check. Okay? Because if you focus only on the confidence, strictly on the confidence, then you risk getting to the point of having too big of a high horse, the arrogance,
Turn it into
the
an
egotistical, those types of things. And I'm reminded of one of my dad's favorite sayings, which is in Spanish, but it says, "Soy manso, pero no menso," which rhymes in Spanish. In English, it means I'm meek, but I'm not an idiot. Okay? So when you have that confidence, it has to be balanced with humility, meekness. Okay? Meek doesn't mean weak. Because you're meek does by no means mean that you are a weak person. Okay? Meek means that because I love that person, I'm choosing to be humble, because out of love. But if I am in action of something that I know I need to do, I have complete confidence. I know what my goal is. I know what I set out to do. I'm going to attack it hard, okay? I'm going to attack it like a bull just racing towards it, But I'm not going to tear people down on the way. I'm going to be humble and meek and loving them, okay? Don't be like the bulls in Spain where they're running down the streets and just mauling anyone in their path. No, you have the strength and the determination, okay? But also be humble, meek, and loving, okay, in every aspect. In every action that you do, always filter it through those things. Love, peace, kindness.
That makes me think of something that I've always noticed that I didn't like, but everyone knows this. When I was in college, I had a lot of friends who I think mistakenly thought that confidence meant being hard, meant being some kind of macho man, this idea of how people need to treat you and respect. You're not going to take advantage of me.
Well, that goes
You're not
into
gonna
another
step on
video where we have to talk about the masculine, feminine,
Right,
the
understanding.
qualities, and a true understanding of what those are. Another good
Agreed.
video.
But to make a point here, because I totally agree with Danny, confidence must be matched with humility, real humility. That's what keeps you out of arrogance. But if you think that confidence is about being this kind of hard persona that you've created,
It's
you
not
are
attractive.
It's not attractive. It's not going to get you very far. But also, it's going to create a rift between the real you and this attachment to your ego. This ego that you're allowing to feed by literally pushing people away, by literally keeping people out. And that's not, going back to connecting, that's not going to help you connect. That's not going to actually get you the deserved and earned trust and respect of your peers, of your family, of your friends. You might get fear out of people, but true respect is a lot more powerful. True respect makes people sacrifice themselves for you. That's how powerful it is. And so I'm not saying this so that people can go like, I need to go get respect so people will sacrifice themselves. I'm saying it's just more powerful than fear. If you think fear-induced power is more powerful, you have a sad reckoning coming from life.
To clear that up, as far as a sacrifice for because it could get a negative connotation, the simplest way to understand what you just said is, I love you, I'd be willing to die for you. I'm not going to go sacrifice myself. I know, but I want people to understand that it is as simple as saying, I love you, and if a situation were to occur, I would lay my life in your defense. You know? And in that humbleness of laying my life, I'm showing the greatest courage, because if I'm going to lay my life, I'm going to take you with me. I'm not going to go down easy. And that's where the courage comes in and the confidence. But it's out of a place of love and humility. So there's always that dichotomy of the two things. But when it's in balance, it's a very beautiful thing. Confidence is beautiful. It's attractive when it's in balance with harmony, with love, with those things. When it's not an attractive thing. And everyone's seen people like that. I've heard women comment where, oh, that guy, he looks perfect, this and that. And then when they date the person, like women say, oh, I always date the asshole. I always get the asshole. Why are they an asshole? Why? Because they're describing the characteristic of this egotistical, you know what I mean.
The average American job.
But
yeah.
That's stereotyping a very small percentage of the men that are out there. Women think it's all the men, only because those are the only men that have the guts to go up and talk to you, because maybe you shoot down all the men, But so 99% of the men have the issues that we're talking about, which is confidence issues. So don't define all men by the 1% of assholes that approach you. That does
the asshole has confidence issues too. He's just
he's expressing
masking
it
it
right.
compensating.
But understand that keep it balanced. Keep it at balance. Have confidence on the things you know are passionate in your life.
Well said, sir.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
You as well. You well, already know me.
You have a unique perspective because we have actually 3 generations represented here. Y'all 2 are from the same generation. I'm slightly more mature age, like
Seasoned,
right?
right? He's a
Yeah.
well-seasoned.
And then you're from a completely different generation. And I have a lot of people I've been mentoring in my lives that are precisely from your generation, and I've been really intrigued how your point of view has changed from their point of view at your age, and definitely changed from what my point of view of life was at your age.
One of the molding characters, like one of the molding reasons behind that,
Speak loud.
is that like the internet really is like a consuming, type of thing. It's all encompassing. It's like the source of knowledge and information for the generation. And so one of the things that's really unique about this generation of myself, like even though obviously there's been a lot of development since the time I can remember, because I've always been fascinated by technology. But I'm the first generation really that's my whole life only known the world of the internet, the world of unlimited information at my fingertips, and it's definitely gonna change the world because it's all of a sudden in like the period of 40 years, 30, 40 years, there was so much instant progress that it was just like what you're feeding your mind, everything that's your input is just changing rapidly. Like so for the generation that's all they've known, it's a paradigm shift in
Everything's
humanity.
accelerated. Your
Exactly.
whole learning process is accelerated.
Well, not exactly.
Well,
For
I'm saying,
those
like,
that treat it the correct
I'm
way,
saying,
but
I'm
there's
saying
also a lot of
comparison
wisdom.
to when I was your age, none of this stuff existed. We didn't. I mean, I remember the first 14.4 modem that AOL, the dial-up, and it took forever to load any kind of page on the internet. So knowledge was really slow. Yet we were so excited about it because it was so fast. But in such a relative short amount of time, it's obsolete. But the amount of today, any question you have, you pull up your phone and it's right there. If I had questions, I had to dig through and thankfully I had a dad who loved to read, had thousands of books and had a library. So I would go and pull out his encyclopedia set, and I remember I always flip to that, and just my curious mind was just on overdrive. But I was limited to the amount of knowledge and information that was at my disposal. Today, everything's at your disposal.
And the downside of that also being that your source of information is a book that you have to search through and everything, you're not going to be going with the most bullshit questions and dumb. You're going to go, and also, inversely, that's not going to be what's written in the books. There's not going to be books full of the story of the Kardashians, for instance, or something like that. Nowadays, what people are consuming their intuition with and their curiosity is, oh, what is Kim Kardashian doing this week? Oh, somebody broke into her, or whatever. Yeah. And all these
That's
things that
what's
make
important.
headlines, and that's what people are focusing on. That's what people are
That's
spending
what
their
matters
time
in life.
looking into and investigating. That part of your mind is one of the most unique in that it's going to help you progress through life and grow and become something bigger than you were.
I have a question. Who were your champions? And when you think of like not mentors, but like not people you know, people that you like really look up to that are like
Whether it's
uber
history
successful.
or
It's history or now, but people that are uber successful, the people that you and I talk about, who are they to you? You're like,
which are the ones for you.
that's what I look up to. Because the reason I'm asking is because in some way, shape, or form, our confidence is going to be linked and tied up to being in line with
your idols have,
becoming like that.
just like your peers have stuff, and your idols who you look up to.
So name me 3, just they don't have to be top 3, but who are 3 people right now that you could say, I look up to that person seriously?
Well, one that's just an all-time, one of my all-time favorites is, you quoted him earlier, King Solomon. I've just always been fascinated with his story. And growing up in a Christian household, obviously read about Solomon since a year, learned and read about Solomon from an early age. So I've always been fascinated by that character and how he lived his life. And then probably say, there's always things
Who alive right now?
alive right now.
Here's one that's most impactful for your generation in these regards as well.
Well, as far as perseverance and dedication, not a basketball player, but I do have a love for the game. I can appreciate it. LeBron James, both LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, two of my favorite players.
Both they same team at one point.
Well, yeah.
Little bias.
But they're really
That's awesome.
interesting people, and they also get a lot of like bad rep and stuff for whatever reasons, because it's the sports world obviously is very biased. But and people will make these assumptions about them just off what they see on TV. But when you look into their lives, they're actually very interesting people, very humble, very
Confident.
benevolent. Yeah, they're good people,
Yeah,
and they're funny. They're enjoyable people. That's always one thing. LeBron James, especially, he's just
Growing up in San Antonio, I remember when David Robinson was playing with the Spurs. And we still run into him around town, but every single time I've crossed any paths with him, not that I know him in any way, just as strangers, but just crossing paths with him, every single occasion I did, it was like, wow, this is a genuine human being. Like, this guy has a heart of gold, you know, and this was in his prime. And I remember Sean Elliott, I mean, all the Spurs that we would run into, it's like, damn, we've got a great team, both on and off the court. They're balanced individuals, and that's something that those who know me know I'm not a huge sports fan. I don't really follow sports, but that's something I've always admired about our team.
And then going back to what you just said, I'm going to interpret your alive right now as like, I'm going to go ahead and interpret it as alive in my lifetime. Because one of them, Steve Jobs, has also always been like fascinating in his his ability to see a goal, see a reality, and just full-fledged, just like
distort reality.
Yeah,
What's
just
this
go.
book? The 12 months ago from this book about how realizing that all the great things in life were created by people no smarter than you.
Yeah, everything in life right now was created by people no smarter.
No smarter, no better than us, and everything that's great. You know, I love that quote from him.
Yeah,
But
one
it's
of the
also
paradigm shifts
realized-
in my life was probably about 2 years ago, or 2 to 3 years ago. No, about 2 years ago, where I realized like there was a time, and also I was very immature at the time, that like whenever still am in a lot of ways, yeah. But when given a task or when tasked to do something, when doing something, I'd always feel the need to like ask how to do it, or like try to get guidance from somebody else, which is very beneficial in a lot of situations to speed up the learning process. But there's also a time where it's just so simple and like just figure it out. It's not going to be that hard. Just do it for yourself. It's gonna help you. It's gonna teach you that the person that you're asking, first of all, either found it out for themselves or learned it from somebody else, and that other person just had to figure it out for themselves. Not everything is uber difficult. And now there are a lot of things that you need to read up on and learn and be an apprentice. And you can't just go into computer programming and just, But there are the things in life where you should just get started and just figure it out for yourself. Just go and
Well, everything you
waters.
gotta get started.
Well, I mean,
Ain't
get
nothing
started,
to it but to do it.
by
Here's-
getting started by testing the waters hands-on rather than learning.
Here's a thought, though, on something you just said. Okay, because you said 2 years ago you used to ask all these questions, right?
Oh, I'm still asking
I know,
questions. just different types.
I'm saying in general, we relate our earliest years with the curiosity years. Always asking questions. Everybody knows kids are always, what's that? Why? What do you do? And they're just always asking every single question. But what is the adult's reaction most of the time? Stop asking questions. Stop asking questions. You already asked that. Don't ask. Don't ask. I don't have time to answer your question. Why? Because the adult feels bombarded with a million questions and feel like it's just nonsense from a child. No, that's that child's natural instinct to have curiosity, to experience this world through like the Bible says, the eyes of a child. They're our example. Okay? If you want to approach things from the perspective of a child, ask questions, ask everything. Why this? Why that? What's this? Oh, what's that? Oh, cool. What? Oh, this is how many pages? It's like, be curious, ignite that natural gift that we have. That one and creativity. Children's like, are you daydreaming again? Stop daydreaming. It's going to make you stupid. Don't daydream. Stop daydreaming. No, that's that child mastering their gift of creativity. Let them fly. Let them soar. Let them go off into la la land and dream away. And God knows what they're going to create when they grow up. Inspire creativity Okay? Inspire those things in the kids. Don't tell them to shut up when they ask questions. The same thing goes for teenagers. It's not a matter of maturity or immaturity. It's a matter of curiosity, and that's perfectly okay, especially when you're asking the right questions. That is part of your path, your Tao, the direction you're headed in life, you know? So I'm glad you brought that up, because so many kids, when they get into that higher teenage years, they've been told no so many times. They've been told, don't ask so many times that you simply stop asking questions. You turn that curiosity off out of forced rebuke, or, you know, turn it back on. Become like a child again. And surprisingly, when you become like a child, you become more confident, because children, they don't have any confidence issues unless they're imposed upon them by people saying, you can't do this. The children will walk up to any person in full confidence and, you know.
You know,
We got a lot to learn.
Distinction. Just to make a clarification, I don't think that's specifically what he was talking about.
No, that's something that sparked.
Exactly. But
You know.
with regard to what he was talking about, saying that you come to a point where you tell yourself, I don't need someone to explain how something needs to be figured out. I have to have the self-reliance that I can figure things out. That doesn't mean you're going to stop asking good questions and constantly asking. I mean, I just talked about asking why 3 times, even to yourself. So go ahead and ask of the world why, and ask for clarification. But when it comes to the moment of you need to perform, that's not the time that you should be asking, how do I do this? And that's the whole point, is when it comes time for you to solve a problem on your own, be ready to engage it so that you can gain and grow in your confidence to engage problems.
That goes into not being concerned with the resources, but be resourceful.
Exactly.
If there's not someone there to ask the question, or doesn't, you have the ability to look up information, be resourceful, and do it.
Jumping around, so going back to what he said, but kind of with a perspective of what I was saying, what Quino just clarified. He was saying, keep on asking questions. That's the right type of
Asking you
question.
shall receive.
Yeah, and a big part of that is not just the questions you're asking, but the other side of the question. Who are you asking?
Yeah.
What are you asking? So choosing that with wisdom is also just as important.
Yeah, efficiency and
One of the best ways to do that is to find something you're passionate about. Find something that does intrigue you, something that you're willing to ask questions about, and then also find a mentor in that. Find somebody that you appreciate how they do it, what they do, and once you get that relationship going, then you ask questions as need be, and then the questions that, based off of what you've already learned from them, you can answer for yourselves. Great, just do that and keep on building off of a two-way street, back to conversation and a dialogue. That whole it's two-way between yourself and somebody else, and that's the way learning works, and a good, efficient model of learning. That's the way it is. What's the word?
you're combining both efficiency and effectiveness.
It's been a long.
Doing the right things
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Doing the right things properly.
Yeah.
Doing good well.
Well.
However you want to put it.
Get her done.
I think though with that, I'd like to wrap it up for today. We're going to be coming back to all of this again next week. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing 2 vlogs together a week. We'll have different guests. Adam and Jacob are more than welcome to join us. I really enjoyed this conversation. What we're going to be talking about next week, we're not really even sure yet. Danny and I will discuss. We'll see as it comes up. Spikes. But we're going to definitely mention spikes, but it's going to be based on the conversations that we have.
It is.
We don't want to make it
applies to so many aspects.
Yeah, we don't want to be unnatural. It's going to be organic and go with what's been going on that week. This weekend, though, I'll be meeting again with Derek. We'll be filming another episode with Derek. I'm going to be filming, hopefully on Friday, my first episode with my dad. My father and I are starting. That's going to be interesting. For those of you who want to tune in and check out that dynamic. And again, as more of these episodes start coming out, I invite you to engage. And I'm going to be putting links to different people's social media in case they also want to engage with.
To reach out and ask questions.
Ask questions, pose questions, make comments. And if you get to put something in practice and experiment on some of the things we're talking about, we'd love to hear how it turns out. We want feedback because it's also going to be something we can learn from, ultimately. And we're making this an experiment of connection. We're connecting with each other, but we're connecting with you. And we love that you're tuning in and tuning up.
This is basically what Quino and I do every day, or whenever we're together. And if they're around, guess what? We talk about this stuff every day, and we're just finally like, let's let everyone else in. join our
squad
yeah.
drive.
So
Also-
I hope y'all are enjoying this and benefiting.
And Quino and I will also be doing a little vlog, hopefully starting by next week.
Well, then Adam and I are going to do ours.
And they'll be having their own, and then we'll be having our own, and they'll be having their
But
own.
the goal is to turn some good conversations that are allowing insight.
Relevant conversations
relevant
that need to be
conversations.
spoken about.
But they're giving insight to different aspects of life. I just want to have those different people and capture them for you to be able to see what's going on.
And please know that it's okay. It's okay. If you're in a place right now, in this particular moment, that you are just in the depths of lack of confidence and those issues, all the issues we talked about, it's okay.
Don't let
I was
it-
there. I was in severe depression for years. I'm not anymore. You may currently be going through your desert, through your situations. Trust me, I promise you, if you're asking the questions, just the simple fact that you're asking the right questions is leading you on the path to leave that wilderness, to get out of that place, that rut you're in your life. Everything is okay. I promise you. I've been there. I know each of us have been there in our completely different ways. We in this particular group, we literally have 4 completely different lives, and we've all had our shit in completely different ways, unique ways.
Yes.
But that's also what makes us so close, because we understand each other in a very special way. So please, it's okay. It's okay. Be patient. Take every day one at a time. Okay. Understand the power of right this moment. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future.
Focus on now, from now on.
Oh, I like that. Focus on now from now on.
That's great.
Nice.
That's going to be
All
my
right.
next agreement. Thank you very much for tuning in, for tuning up, for being a part of this.
We
Be
do
blessed.
love you.
We'll
That's
see
the
you soon.
reason why we're doing this, is because we love you.
You're awesome.
You're awesome.
Every
You're
day.
awesome.
You're awesome.
I'm awesome.
Everyone's off.
I